All right, Dave, we're live. I know you're not used to forwards, so I guess I'll start it. We are live on a Thursday at a regular time. And folks, this is going to be the last forward you're going to see at this time because as you know, and I'm going to go over it real quick, Dave, next, in our next forward show in 2 weeks, it will be the not one and only Ricky Henry from Northern Ireland Pro Wrestling, the NIPW Junior Heavyweight Champion, is going to be my new co-host. That's going to be in 2 weeks, though, folks. And because I have Ricky from Northern Ireland, I got to adjust the time because otherwise it's going to be at 2 a.m. for him if we wanted a regular time. So it's going to be, the new time is going to be bumped up to an earlier time slot. It would be 10 p.m. UK time for him. So we're going to be about 4 hours earlier going forward on just the forward shows. Rewind. And we got to remind our viewers, everybody, you know, this is just, we're talking forward. My new co-host, Dixie Dave's going nowhere when it comes to Rewind. He'll still be with me every other Thursday on Rewind.
You know, because we have a special guest, I decided I had to come over here to forward, class up the joint, seeing that the Canary Kid wasn't here. Had to class it up because we have our special guest coming in today. We have our special guest, Officer Smalls. And, you know, we have also got former NWA, TNA World Tag Team Champion, Hernandez, visiting with us today.
Yeah, it's a great show, and they're at the wrestling training camp. So when you hear the bumps and slams going on in the background, that's because training's in process, but we'll still be able to hear him just fine. So, but yeah, so it's going to be a great interview, great show. You know, this kid, Dave, I'm telling, you haven't seen a whole lot of him, but of course, when I put the show together, I have to see all of it. This kid is amazing. Of course, he's got a great teacher, but you're going to be really impressed here, Dave. He's really good. And
you know, you and I, we've been talking about this since you first started talking to Hernandez, and you know, I'm looking forward to seeing this. This kid sounds really impressive. I mean,
yeah, no, he is, and I'm not just saying that. You'll see when we see all the footage and stuff. And I know I see we got the whole gang in here tonight. I'm sure you're gonna have lots of questions. Please have questions for Officer Smalls for him. We're just gonna call him Smalls, I guess. That's what he wants. So we'll say Smalls. And I just want to pull in one comment here, Dave. One of our regulars, Nicholas Watler. It is his birthday today, so happy birthday, Nicholas. I'm glad you're with us tonight again, as usual.
Happy birthday.
And we appreciate everybody in here. And here's the one I haven't seen before. Rev, he says, I've been thinking about making NWF wrestlers and Fire Pro Wrestling. Well, yeah, explain that. I'm curious. I don't know what Fire Pro Wrestling is. Do you, Dave?
I'm not familiar with Fire Pro Wrestling.
Not familiar, but that's a very interesting thing. I'm curious what that's all about. But thanks for joining us, too. And I tell you what, I'm going to run a quick little promo on what's going on down there in San Antonio with San Antonio Style Wrestling. This is going to be kind of a little promo of their training. Of course, Smalls is in a lot of this, Officer Smalls, and Shawn Hernandez himself, and it's his training school and stuff. So we're going to take a look at this little quick promo here, and it'll have if you're in the San Antonio area, hit these guys up, and if you're interested at all. So especially if you got kids or anything interested, and we'll talk to Shawn about that more. But let's run this promo quick, Dave, and then when we come out of the promo, we will have both Shawn Hernandez and Officer Smalls with us. So here we go. Just got to get rid of I had to get rid of the comment. There we go. Now we'll go into the promo.
right.
All right.
We are back. With us is Hernandez and Officer Smalls. Welcome to the show, gentlemen.
What's up, guys? How are y'all?
Hey, welcome in, guys. And just to explain, it says Officer Smalls on the lower third. That's because they're sharing the same screen. We had them all in there together, but it just had a little feedback issue, so we're just putting them together since they're in the same room anyway. And yeah, welcome in, guys, to NWF Forward. You know, on Rewind, we look back at our history, but with Forward, we're always wanting to look ahead at the new stars, the new talent getting developed in the world of professional wrestling as youngsters, as teens and kids coming into this. And what I like to say, Dave, the right way, you know, with proper training and guidance, right?
And if I may say right off the bat, Hernandez, one thing I highly respect is seeing that montage. A person who's actually in the ring with the people that he's training.
Yes.
Yeah.
I've heard stories of, you know, famous wrestlers creating schools.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
And they have John Doe who's never been big in the ring with their trainees.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Well, what I try to do is I get it. You're training with me because of the name. I want to make sure you're doing this, and I won't ask you to do anything that I cannot do myself. I'm not going to be in the back. I'll be on the corner, on the side, sitting down and having someone train you. But I can do it more hands-on, and I know exactly what to do. Exactly, you know. I've heard and I've seen schools do that. And I don't think that's right.
Sure.
Exactly.
You're trained with a certain name because of his lineage. What he's did in the sport, you need to be that guy at training as well.
Right. I mean, I've heard stories from my co-host Crusher Cross, and when he'd go to Ed Sharkey's training camp, Ed Sharkey would be sitting outside the ring and just telling his guys what to do, and he'd just sit there.
Yeah, he'd have handlers. Very, very seldom would he get up out of that chair. But everybody's a little different, right, in how they train. So let's get to Cade here now. Cade, or I'm sorry, Smalls. We're gonna refer to him as Smalls. How old were you when you first got going? Like whether it was juniors training or whatever it was. What age were you when you first started?
I started at 13, right when I turned 13, and for summer camps, and then later on I was still 13 when I did the adult camps.
Right, so you went in early. And much like John McCann over there in NIPW, he did kind of the same thing. He started at 14 and went into the adult. They didn't have a junior, so he went right in with the adults. I'll tell you something, though. It's going to pay off in the long run, trust me, because of watching some of these guys develop early quick. They get real good quick. So what was it, Cade, that got you interested in wanting to be in wrestling, professional wrestling, that is?
I don't know. I saw... because I would always go into the area where we were training. I found out there's a kids camp. I decided to try it since I did parkour for 4 years before this. So I was like, let's give this a shot. It's just a summer camp, but then it started building on and on.
And once you got in, started to get a taste of it, you just wanted more and more, am I right?
Oh, yeah. Once I started, I knew I had to do this.
Yeah, that's that same fire and passion we all have when we start getting into that squared circle. I understand 100%, and I know Dave does too.
Exactly. Now, admittedly, I entered the meeting a little late. Now, if I may ask, how old are you now, Smalls?
I am 14 now.
Okay.
14. So you've been at this for about a year, right?
Yeah.
So everybody keep that in mind, that he's been at this a year when you get into the watch along screen and you start watching him in the ring here. Because remember that's only a year's worth of training. You're already at this level. I can't imagine where you're going to be in another 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, Shawn, you know what I'm talking about.
Sir, I'll tell you right now. He's one of these kids that's a prodigy.
Yep.
So anyone who knows me knows I don't, nice up anything. I have to tell you how it is.
Yep, you don't mince words.
So, I'll give it. So he's 14. Within 10 years, this gentleman right here, this kid, is going to be on television, or he's going to be in jail. That's the only two choices he has. because he has the wrestling mind of a 30-year-old man in a 14-year-old body.
Yeah.
He goes to a high school in San Antonio. Majority of the kids are African Americans and Mexicans.
Yeah.
Look how Anglo he is. He's trying to be modest now, but he is very cocky and self-assured.
Yep.
So trust me when I say this. He's going to be a big star within 10 years, or you guys are going to have to run letters in the pen.
Right.
And I don't mince words. I'm just being honest.
No, I hear you. And it's all, as long as he sticks with it and he keeps that determination, he doesn't quit, and he stays with it, the sky's the limit here. And that's really it. I mean, the only person, Smiles, that is going to stop you is you.
Exactly.
Yep.
But you have one question for you, Smalls. Now, you have an awesome trainer.
Yes.
But as he can tell you, the wrestling business is not an easy business. It's not a business where you're going to make a ton of money right away.
Mm-hmm, yes.
Now, just in case, say, an injury happens, do you have a fallback plan?
Good question.
Brother, I don't mean to interrupt. He's 14. He don't even know what time his bedtime is yet. So how he has a backup plan.
Well,
yeah.
You can understand what I'm saying, though, Hernandez. I mean,
100%. 100%.
I mean, as much as I love wrestling, I left the business when I was 23, 24.
Mm-hmm.
And I've just kind of been, lack of a better way to put it, floundering around in life, getting by.
I understand that.
Yeah, but I agree, though. He's a bit young for that kind of decision, Dave. I think that's the kind of thing you think about more when you get to 17, 18, and you're going to really, really, dive in. Then you want to you do want to have something that you maybe could fall back on. I get it. A lot of people, though, like I've asked that question too, have said, well, I still want to be involved. So if an injury happens, I want to be involved in the wrestling business some way, shape, or form. And there are other ways they can get involved. So
right.
We got some comments coming. I want to just bring these in quick, guys. TNT 4694 says, an amazing coach and wrestler, Hernandez. Can't wait to see what Smiles is going to do. That's for both of you there. And then he also commented when you guys were talking, that could be dangerous. Wrestling mind in a kid's body.
Most definitely.
And then
he knows what he knows at 14.
Yeah.
And he's a freshman in high school.
Right.
So, I was a freshman in high school. I'm sure you guys were back in the day. You get bullied.
Yeah.
He's only, 5'1", 5'2"?
5'2".
He's 5'2". For a perfect perspective, when I was a freshman in high school, I was 5'10" and a half.
Yep.
So, you already know what uphill battles he's going to have in high school.
Fortunately, though, today in wrestling, you can be a small person.
I'm just talking about the high school. I ain't talking about the wrestling part.
Right. But I mean for wrestling, though, it used to be like back in our day, if you weren't over 220 pounds, you weren't viable. Luckily, that's no longer. So, like, if you're really good enough, it doesn't matter how big you are. It's not like it used to be. Here's a comment from Gizmo, though. It says, hey, Kay, you looked really good in the promo. I'm going to say Smiles. We'll rephrase that. Hey, Smiles, you looked really good in the promo. How did your background in Parker help you in the ring? Background parkour?
Yeah.
Parkour.
Okay. Yeah, and parkour. Okay, yep. Because he mentioned that, right. Yep.
It helped me with awareness in the ring and all the cool stuff you see. That definitely helped a lot with the ring awareness and all the flips and stuff.
Sure.
Pretty much that's how it helped.
Hernandez, did you notice? So I know. Would you say a natural? He's a natural.
Yes, sir.
Yep.
I had him in my kids' camps last year, and when we do the kids' camp, every kid from 8 to 14 years old does only the moves to me or my assistant. They're not allowed to do each other. He has such great, amazing body control and self-awareness of what's going on around him. Like, man, this kid has a chance.
Mm-hmm.
And he did it, so we have one in June, we have one in July. I go, man, this kid has a chance. Everyone's going, no, he's just a kid. He's just a kid. And then his dad asked me if he could do this in adult camp. I go, man, I don't play favorites. Guy, girl, kid, midget, three-legged donkey. You get in the ring, you're an athlete.
Yeah.
Everyone gets hit the same way. Everyone takes the bump the same way. I let him try it if he can do it and don't cry.
Yeah.
Because he's 13 years old last year.
Sure.
You can do it without crying. Yes, I'll keep him. And like to duck to water, he was. The want to and the mental, retain what I'm telling them is off the charts.
Yeah. Yeah, and like I said, when we get to the watch long, you'll see what we're all talking about here. And he's Smiles, you're in the ring there with the regular guys. I've seen maybe a couple kid matches there with other younger guys, but for the most part, you're in there with the regulars, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Well, for the record, when he started wrestling on our show, on the AWR shows, maybe a tag match, I'm in the tag match, so I'm the one throwing him.
Right.
And I'm not going to be nice to him because he's my student. When you have a small name for yourself, the people are paying to see Hernandez from TNA, Hernandez from LAX, Hernandez from Lucha Underground, Hernandez from AAA. They don't care if this kid's 100 pounds, 115 pounds. They still want to see him launched.
Sure. And here's a good question from Nicholas Watler. He wants to know, and does the training help build his awareness and strength?
Yes, it builds awareness. Definitely strength as well. Over summer, me and him, we were working out like 100 burpees every day, 100 push-ups, 100 squats, pull-ups, all of that during the summer. And dips.
It's good you bring that up because that was going to be a question I had. I was wondering if the training details some of the, the workout routines and everything else, and it sounds like it does.
Well, for this summer, he's being modest. We do the kids camp 10 a.m. to noon, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So this guy would be in my house from 10 to noon, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Then he would come back to my house and we would work out together. Whether it's 100 burpees, 200 burpees, pull-ups, dips, free squats, Japanese style. Then we would watch, scroll through YouTube, different matches and dissect the matches, babyface, heel, transition spots, double downs, comebacks, all that. Then he would do the adult class. So for June and July, this guy was training probably from 10 to 9 o'clock those 3 days a week.
Sure. Yeah, and just looking at your training, all the different sequences and reversals and all that kind of thing, all the fundamentals, it's good stuff. And that's the basics, right? And you need to get that down.
Yes.
So, learning that early, like at this age, is just phenomenal. And then, what's cool about this? He's at 13 when he started, right? Just turned. And just imagine how seasoned he's going to be when he hits 18. Compared to a lot of guys that are 18 that are just getting into it that don't have a shred of the experience.
Well, I'm not going to lie to you guys. I've had people his age or 14, 15 years old. The parents pushed me, beg, borrow, and plead for me to let them try it. And I don't want to mention names because I don't want to hurt people's feelings.
Sure.
3 of them quit the first 3 days.
Yeah.
14, 15 years old. Oh, my daddy was a wrestler for 20 years. I want to try it. 14-year-old kid took her first back bump, cried, and quit that day.
Yeah, it's not for everybody.
Yeah. I'm not trying to be mean. It's not for everyone. So when people are telling me, my friends, whether it's Homicide from TNA from back in the day, he was with us last weekend, telling me, hey, I wouldn't train if I was you, but do what you want because of his age. You have no clue what this kid can do with his threshold of pain and his endurance and his stamina from because if you blow up, you can't wrestle.
Right.
and the wind he has in the mental awareness is off the charts.
Well, that's and that's going to go a long ways in this business, and I believe you. I'm sure what you're saying is absolutely true, and and these are good qualities to have, especially at a young age.
Sir, I don't mean to interrupt real quick, but can you answer the Damien question?
Yes, I know. I was going to get to that. Let's bring that in
Straight to him, though. Straight to him. I want him to tell you in your live audience how soft he is. Go ahead, tell him.
So it says, hi, Smiles. He says, do you wrestle for your high school? If so, what weight group?
No, I do not wrestle in high school.
Now, real quick, tell these gentlemen what you do.
I do choir.
Choir. Now, I would have never guessed that. I would have never guessed that. But you know what? That's nothing wrong with it. But man, I would have never guessed it. To see it, knowing how tough he is in that ring, we would never guess that.
Okay. Smalls, tell them what you did last year.
Last year, I did band and choir.
Who would have thought in all of San Antonio is the 7th biggest in the United States. Now, the toughest 14-year-old kid I know was in band and choir. Now, when I'm an old man, and I'm sure when you guys were in high school and stuff like that, you would have laughed at someone saying they're in band and choir, and now they're pro wrestling.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
I'm just saying. Great question, Damien.
Yeah. A lot of the guys want to know. They're very curious if the kids that are getting involved in pro wrestling, if they've been in wrestling. That's a common question we do get. Let's go to our watch line, guys, and let's start watching some of the matches that Smalls has been in here, and we'll keep asking questions and stuff as we do this. So we're going to go to our watch line screen here. And now we can see Smalls in action. And now, I don't know if you were going by Officer Smalls at this point, were you?
No, this was during a birthday party, and for birthday party shows, they had me as face because it's easier to work the crowd like that.
Yeah, so I was gonna say, because you were getting cheered in this match, I remember, so I was gonna ask about that. So you've done both face and heel then, huh?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. And here's the question, Smalls, what do you like better, face or heel?
I like heel. I like doing heel because I can I can base the match on what I want it to be.
Yep.
Then how the face is just shine and then do what the heel wants you to do.
Yeah, well, the heel's important. I mean, the heel's responsible for the heat. And if you don't get the heat, the face has a hard time sometimes getting the cheers. So the heel has a big responsibility, but it's fun, though. It's fun to mess with the crowd. Hernandez knows that.
Oh, I love it.
Yep. So, and I'm sure you found that out now, too, as you're being the heel. The whistleblowing thing, I understand. They just can't stand it. And, those are the kind of things you do. Whatever you can do to aggravate that crowd, right? And who's this big guy you're going against? He one of the regulars in the league?
The gentleman in the ring right now, that's my assistant trainer here.
Okay. All right. And but yeah, guys, just take a look at this. Watch the footage as we go here, and you'll be pretty impressed, especially when we get to some of the later matches too.
Well, the good thing is when we do these birthday parties like this, like if you go to those bouncy houses at the mall and stuff, if you want to do a birthday party there, it costs like $400. So we bring the ring to your house for birthday parties only.
Yes.
And for a little bit more, they bring the ring to your backyard and have a show, and you can invite 1,000 people and have adult beverages and food and whatever you want with no time limit. So we do very well with these birthday party shows.
So you've done more than one, huh?
Yes, sir.
Wow, that's I've never heard of that as a way to promote wrestling. This is incredible. Doing that as like a birthday party type thing.
Yes, well, it helps because they do 3 matches in a battle royal, and so we have maybe 6 guys wrestling. So they put the ring up, and so they learn how to wrestle in front of a birthday crowd that's more often than not full of adult beverages.
Sure.
So,
yeah.
If you cannot learn it from a bar crowd, you can never learn anything, because if you're drinking, you're having a good time with your friends. You want to be entertained.
Yeah.
You have to be able to cheer and get cheered or booed, or no one's going to come back.
Yep.
So
Absolutely.
this is the perfect way to learn wrestling. So I don't want to hear no one saying, "Oh, I need to go wrestle and event centers and this and that." Okay, that's great, but if you don't know how to get booed or cheered, you're swimming uphill.
Right. No, I don't. I mean, I don't have no problem with anything like this. I mean, I think it's great.
Especially, so my assistant trainer's there. Brian right there, the other guy with him in the black trunks, he's one of my students as well. These are pretty much glorified student shows.
Yep. And as I mentioned earlier, guys, notice the bumps Smalls is taking here. They don't have kid gloves on here, guys. He's taking some legitimate bumps. I just want to make sure to point that out.
I'm sure he's. How many you taking the board toss? How many times? 1 or 2 times?
Yeah, twice.
So this young gentleman's already taken the border toss, so he understands.
Yeah.
I don't play no favorites. I don't play, like I said, when you come to my training facility, you're not a man, woman, child, you're an athlete. And if you cannot do it, please leave. Because, I'm not going to, here blow smoke around people. There's some kids that get sent home. There's people that get sent home. There's adults that get sent home because I don't need that here. I need people who want this to be relevant for the next 20 years.
Right. Yeah.
Exactly.
So Hernandez, what does it cost if somebody's interested to come to your school and they really want to give it a go? What is the rates to get trained for the school?
For our students, I'm probably the most reasonable one in the area. We have probably like 4 different training facilities outside me. When this got started, I'm not trying to hustle no one. I'm not trying to pull no one. I want, if you've never been trained before, it's $150 to start, and let's get to work. When I got trained, it was $300 to start and $150 a month. I just want $150 a month, and then let's get to work. There's some schools here that are $200, $250 a month, and they are not allowed to apply their trade. We have one student show here a month, guaranteed. I'm the coordinator of a promotion here in South Texas, AWR, also Wrestling Revolution. We run 40 plus shows a year.
Wow.
So you're going to get your time to practice your craft. There's no empty promises, broken dreams. Get here. It's quality training and actually a place to use it.
Sure. And do you have now I see we're in a match here now. This looks like another younger gentleman that you're in there with. I don't know if he's young or not, but he looks young.
This gentleman's 16 years old.
Yep. So this is kind of more of a teen match, I guess you could say, and both come through your school, right?
The only reason why I had to go against him, because the partner you saw earlier, he's kind of injured right now. So after this, we did a tag match.
Okay.
We cheated. Big guy came in, and we got out of the ring. So then it turned into a tag match. Me and my partner versus that guy in the ring right now, and a 6'10" guy.
Okay.
The guy that came to help the hillbilly kid.
Yep.
Is one of my other students. He's 23 years old. He's 6'9", 450 pounds.
Oh, wow. It's kind of like Tank up there in Pure Pro.
Sir, he's the biggest Mexican you've ever seen in your life.
Wow.
Because when I was coming up, I'm 6'2", 260, but before I got injured, I was 305. So, but this guy makes me look like I'm his son. He's 6'9", 23 years old, 450 pounds.
That's a big guy.
Okay, and Hernandez, getting back to your rates, those are some of the most reasonable rates I've ever heard. Because
I was gonna say,
when I lived in South Dakota for 20 years.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to name names, but we had a former WWE wrestler who lived in South Dakota.
I already know who you're talking about. Yes, sir.
That ran a school.
Fun fact: 3 months ago, I wrestled in South Dakota, so I know exactly what you're talking about.
Okay. He was charging $1,000 for 6 weeks of training.
Yep.
Yeah. I was going to say it's pretty reasonable. And yeah. Now, is this I'm watching the ring and seeing you got some decent bounce. Are these the older breakdown rings with the spring, or is this a flexi steel type newer ring?
This is a low boy ring because
okay.
Like I was telling you, we run 40 shows a year.
Oh, for ceiling height and stuff?
This is we're inside a bar right here.
Yeah.
The height's too low. And we have to use the 16 by 16 ring. So
okay.
Officer Smalls here would have showed the other opponent who was 6'9", 450 pounds. It would look scary.
So here we got some questions, guys. I want to Sky Sports Video News is asking, this is for you, Smalls. How did you get the name Officer Smalls?
So before I got Smalls, they were calling me like Deputy Kate or something. And then my partner and Hernandez, they thought, just call him Officer Smalls. So then the next show we did against him and another guy, they just did on the mic, Officer Smalls, and it got the crowd even more of a pop.
Sure. And then Nicholas Watler is wanting to know, how much training do you do a month?
God, hold on, let me do math. 12 times, and then student shows once a month, so 13, and then other shows in AWR, probably at least in the ring, probably 20, 21 times.
Sure. And I got a question now. Have you ventured to any other indie leagues at all in the area that you maybe network with, or haven't you done any of that yet?
Let me answer that one real quick.
All right.
So this gentleman right next to me, local wrestling is probably on Facebook and Twitter and social media is really high up there because they work with Title Match Network. Do the iPay-per-views. He did a show for them. He did so well that this kid who can't even drive, can't vote, can't buy me a beer, nothing, is commanding 75 plus. He gets to bring his base, at least one base, plus gas because he's too young to drive. Most kids come out of wrestling school lucky to get $20, $25.
If even that.
Or they might just get they'll thank you, hey, you can grab a t-shirt on your way out. Or you can get some extra popcorn or one of the hot dogs on the way out.
Yep.
So this kid, like I'm telling you, wrestling awareness, wrestling IQ, he's 35 going on 14.
Yeah. Well, you can see it. I mean, he's very crisp. His technique is very solid. I mean, we're watching it.
I hate to say, Crusher, he's a lot better than we were back in the day.
Oh, by far. That goes for a lot of these guys. But that's the difference when you have solid, good training out of the gate. It makes a huge difference. So,
exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
When I was training, I was a failed football player. I was playing arena football, and I was making more money unloading trucks than I was playing arena football. So luckily, Dutch Mantel and JBL came into the Gold's Gym I was working out at and said, hey, Dutch Mantel looked at me and said, hey, you look like one of those Steiner guys. Well, I said, hey, Mr. Mantel, I'm broke as hell. Show me how I can make some money in wrestling.
Right.
And that's how I got the car to go to Tugboat Taylor School Wrestling with his son. Him and his son Chaz is the one who trained me. Mm-hmm. Now, with social media, you got some guy who maybe was a career $20 worker his whole life for 20 years, train these guys. And that's how you create a cesspool of bad workers.
Yeah.
They can, whether they're pro San Antonio style wrestling or negative San Antonio style wrestling, one thing they cannot say is, I'm successful for 20 years being relevant, whether it's AAA, Lucha Underground, or TNA. Tell me where these other trainers came from.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, And and I'm sure Smalls, you know this. What really makes a good wrestler is how well you can sell for your opponent, right? You gotta, you sell your ass off for your opponent. It makes the match. And if your opponent does the same for you, you have a match that everybody remembers.
Yes.
Yeah, and so that's the driving force of it all. It's like, and there's guys, and Hernandez knows this too, I'm sure, that will come into this and thinking they want to get their spots in, they want to get their moments in the match. And, maybe, and they're not looking at the big picture, even when they're fully trained, right? So, to understand at a young age is good. I'm glad to see you nod your head when I said that, because that's really fundamental, right?
Yes.
This is your tag team partner, I'm taking it, right?
Yes.
Okay.
You just missed where the big 6'9", 400-pound guy went into the ring.
Yeah. Yep. I remember. Well, I've seen it. I see what you're saying. Yeah. Now this, I noticed this young kid that's filming on the outside. He's one of the trainees as well, right?
Yes, sir.
Yep. I thought I seen him in the training footage.
That's Kyle Clash. He's 14 or 15 as well. He's in ninth. He's in ninth grade.
Yep.
And he's got the most, magnificent mullet. Check that motherfucker out.
I see that. Yeah. Brings us back to the 80s here.
He's gonna be good.
Yeah. And how do you, Smiles? How is it working with the other kids that are more your age? Is there a sense of the competition in wrestling is trying to be the best, right? That's the real competition. You want to be the best at it. Do you have any of that competition with the other kids?
Not really. It's easy to work with them because they're my age.
Sure.
But sometimes it can get hard because they haven't been doing this as long as other guys. But once you learn how to work with a guy that's only done this with 1 month and done this 20 years, you'll get used to it.
Right, exactly. It's good that you picked up on that because not everybody's at the same level. And sometimes you get in the ring with somebody that's not as good as you are. It happens. And then when you're in that situation, you got to do what you can to make the match memorable, right?
Yeah, dumb it down.
So who's this guy? Now, who's the guy that just did that, the suplex there? And is this a trainee as well?
Yes, sir. That's CC Carter right there. He just turned 20.
Okay.
He's excellent, but he's in that part of his life to where he's trying to figure out what he wants to do.
Sure.
He's part-time job here, part-time job there. If he can make training on a regular basis, you would see him on TV within 4 years. Guaranteed. He's athletic as hell.
Yeah, he looks like it. And look at this rope walking stuff, guys. This is great stuff here. Remember the age, and he's already doing the rope walking and everything. That's just crazy. Yeah, very impressed.
At summer camp.
Yep, very impressive stuff here, guys. And so there goes that whistle. So Nicholas Watler has a question. He wants to know how much awareness does Smalls have? Well, I mean, we're watching it, right?
Answer the question.
Good enough awareness where I don't injure myself.
Yeah, very important. Because that's what you don't want to do, and you don't want to hurt your opponent either.
Right. Which kind of answers Gizmo's next question.
And Gizmo's got a question here. Let's bring it in. He says, Smiles, what is the worst injury you had during training or in a match? If you've had any injuries.
The worst one was when I was kind of starting adult camp. This big 300-pound dude, I was doing a Rana. He didn't throw me right, so he rolled over my foot when I landed.
Okay.
So then we find out the next 2 days we go to the med clinic. We find out that just my pinky toe was broken.
Okay.
That was the worst injury.
And there's nothing they can do for broken toes or fingers. I mean, you just got to let them heal.
Yep.
Yeah. Especially a pinky. That'd be a bugger to get through until it healed.
Well, like the next 3 days, me and my dad were like, "It feels fine. Okay, you can wrestle."
Yeah. Yeah, as long as nobody stomps on your feet, right?
Yes.
I broke my finger once in a match, and they'll put it in a splint, but there's just not a lot they can do for it. When you break a finger or a toe or anything. Yeah, I really like this. It takes a lot of not everybody can do that kind of stuff. And this is you, Hernandez, right? In there with him, yeah.
Sir.
And I imagine you guys, through all the training and everything, have gotten some routines down, even that you just have memorized at this point, right?
Yes, but I mean, it's also feel because I train with this kid so much. We can call things in the ring and do audibles.
Yeah.
Because, there's a lot of times, like I was telling you, this kid has, a better mind of a 30-year-old guy in a 14-year-old body. Sometimes my partner or his partner is not doing what they need to be or in the right spot. So we do audibles all the time just to get through the match.
Sure. So, so what you're saying is you've got developed ring chemistry then with them.
Almost definitely.
Yeah. Yep. And that's a cool thing. When you have ring chemistry with somebody, it's just a great experience. There's no other way to put it.
It's like a day off. You're just
like a day off. Yeah.
Just going through the motions.
Used to call it a night off back in the day.
Most definitely.
Now, so Officer Smiles, is that the gimmick you're going to stick with for a while, as long as you can, or do you have any ambitions to change up the gimmick at all, or you're going to keep rolling with it?
No, I'm getting some gear made. I'm getting with the guy for face gear. So once I get that down, I'm going to be face for now.
So we got maybe a face turn coming up here, maybe.
Yes.
So fans have to stay tuned for that if and when that happens. We don't want to give away too much, of course.
Well, obviously, with his age and all the shows that we're doing, there's a 99% chance there's going to be a mask gimmick.
Yeah.
Because, a majority of the AWR shows are bar shows.
Mm-hmm.
Look at him. Does he look like, he can't go to a bar? So unless his army goes with him. So it's a little bit easier to do it with the mask because the fans want to see him. The bar owner wants to have him there. But you got to blow that line because look at the little baby face he has.
Right. Because of the age, a little bit young yet for the
14 looking like he's 10.
Right. Yeah, I get it. Damian Thorne has a question for you, Smiles. Smiles, do your friends support you with your wrestling goals at school?
Yeah. Some of them do, and then the ones I know that are like that won't kind of support it or like not fan wrestling, I don't tell them.
Sure.
But the ones I know do like it, I'll give them flyers. I'll say, hey, come to the show at this time. This is bell time, everything. And I'll make sure everything is good with that. But yeah, most of my friends support it.
Yeah, like I always tell our guests with Dave and I, when we were doing this back in the day, what I noticed with friends at school is if they were wrestling fans, they thought it was cool. Mm-hmm. But if they weren't wrestling fans, they would give you crap. I imagine that hasn't changed, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But, it's best, just let it go in one ear and out the other. And then when you start making that money that you're talking about, you say, oh, yeah? Well, what do you do? Football? Well, how much did you make in high school football?
Yep.
So, yeah. So, good question, though, from Damian. He's one of our regulars. And
now, Smalls, I've noticed in the videos that we watched, it seems like one of your favorite spots is to do the 619.
Yeah, I've seen that a lot, too.
Yes, I actually have just so recently I've been doing it now because I've seen a lot of people aren't doing that anymore. I feel like, especially not at bar shows. So when I'm going against a 6'9" guy, Hernandez, any guys like that, I'm definitely going to do 619. Anyone can take that.
Yeah.
Now, do you still call it the 619, or do you have your own name for it?
No, I just call it what the name is.
Oh, okay.
And Zachary Gray has a question. He wants to know, I want to know how quickly he picked up the moves. So since you started training, how quickly did you take to it?
Well, summer camp, we did roll off the backs. We did that rope walk you saw in the other videos.
Mm-hmm.
I mostly learned it from there since I didn't have to take moves. And then once I started getting better taking moves, I'm learning more moves now. So, like
Sure.
2 months ago, that's when I've been starting to really pick up moves.
You know, I remember back when I was starting out, there were always certain moves that for us there were intimidating moves to take because you haven't done them yet, and it's just almost that, I don't want to say fear factor, but just the fear of the unknown factor. You just don't know how it's going to feel to take that bump. So, have you had any of those experiences where as you're learning, where you've had to kind of, finally, like for me, I'll give you an example. Getting slammed off the top rope. It was one of those things that after a few times, I never could quite do it right. But then after you get the hang of it, the knack of it, it's like, yeah, I can do that. Have you had one of those moments where you realized that it was maybe a little challenging, but then you got it?
Yes, I actually have 3 on the top of my head. The slam one you just talked about.
Off the top, yeah.
The superplex from the middle rope. We've done that with some of the young guys you're talking about earlier. One of the guys, some of the guys I don't trust, but I'll still jump and everything.
Yeah.
I did it. That was one of the scariest bumps I've ever taken.
Well, it's a good thing, trust is an important thing in this business, and when you're in there with somebody, you need to trust them. And I imagine you trust Hernandez.
Oh yeah.
But once you guys all get trained, and once you get through this training phase, trust becomes something that's universal. That you have trust with everybody, and that's just the whole way. It's the way it is. So.
And then that guy's got a lot better, where now I can do it with him. And then the other 2 moves I was gonna say was the border toss for sure. It's just a flat bump, but I've seen people take it. But then once you take it, it's easy.
Right. And have you noticed any? I know, speaking of bumps, and you've taken some pretty rough bumps in there. I'm gonna say you're not, like I said, they don't play with kid gloves in San Antonio, folks. Now, have you had any bumps on the side, towards the side of the apron, where you don't have the help of the ring, and it's a rough bump?
No, those bumps I've given moves, like where the guy's laying down there, I've sent on them leg drops, splash, but I have never taken the move, especially with the rings, because I have to help set up. I know where the padding is, and I know where the boards are. I'm good.
Yeah. Our rings that we had way back, they were the older ones. They had the center spring in the middle, so you always tried to keep things in the middle. But
one thing you just said right there was perfect. These kids here, when they train with me, they know how to set up a ring. They know how to tear a ring down. So if you're setting up and tearing down the ring, you know the good spots and bad spots all the time.
Yeah.
You know what, hey, maybe that board might be out of place. Hey, there's less padding in this corner over here. It's indie wrestling. You guys been there. You know how it happens.
Yeah.
Maybe that bottom rope is not as tight as it should be, or whatever it is. It's the ring awareness this kid has. It's off the charts. I teach these guys mostly American TV style wrestling. I was in Japan for a while, so I teach them a little bit of Japanese, and I have a huge Lucha Libre influence because we're 2 hours from the border.
Sure.
And I was off and on with AAA and Lucha Underground. Now, one thing I want to say is you guys can hype this kid up as much as you want. He needs to learn wrestling etiquette because he was at a lucha show one time. I'm not going to say where or what, but when they have a really good match, they throw money in the ring.
Right.
So they throw money in the ring. Someone, not me, because I wasn't in the match, sitting next to me, decided to keep all the money for himself. So, when they throw money in the ring, it's for the wrath. It's for everyone who participated in that match.
Yeah.
He took it upon himself because he didn't have the etiquette to realize, maybe I should share some of this, or at least offer some. He kept all the money.
Lesson
Just on
learned,
that
huh?
part.
You know, you got to understand one thing. You know, the age. He sees all that money coming at him.
Well, there was another time he wrestled recently. He was on a show with one of my friends from the past, Drake Younger.
Mm-hmm.
He was on the show with him. He really, they shake hands, they meet, everything is great. He recognizes that he's from my school. Me and Drake are really good friends. He made sure he took care of my kid, make sure, because I was in Orlando on vacation and he was in Houston. So Drake made sure he took care of him, made sure he had money to eat, which I made sure he gave the money back to him. Mm-hmm. But that's how old school guys take care of each other. If we're a part of a family, I'm going to take care of your family if you're not there. Sure, and that's so much respect. That's how real wrestling is. And that's how I try to explain to him. So when he had to go, I'm sure he was upset. He had to give the money back. But that's how wrestlers are supposed to take care of each other in and out of the ring.
Yeah. Smiles, have you ever had a match with somebody that was been a little stiff with you?
Aside from Hernandez.
Yeah, besides Hernandez. Yeah, we're not counting Hernandez.
I mean, I don't know about stiff, but
I mean, were they testing you at all, or?
I mean, before in the back, we always have a meeting, and there's like me and this other one, the kid you saw earlier. Since this is adult business, he says hit them as hard as you want in the battle royals. Yeah. So hit as hard as you want. So, I mean, I don't see it as stiff shots. I just see it. You're listening to your promoters and bookers.
Sure.
Well, you guys been around the business long enough to realize, I'll be honest, he's one of my students. He's one of my top students. So yes, there's a little bit of bullying that goes around.
Yeah.
This kid is a prodigy. He can sell for you. He can make himself look good and make you look good. So if you want to take liberties on him, I'm a phone call away. You know, at 51 years old, there's no hopes and dreams for me. There's no, I hope I can make it. I hope I can be a star. It's, hey, I hope this guy can be stars so I can keep my school running. So sure. I don't care if you want to, this guy's technically sound. He's willing to give and take in wrestling. He's willing to sell. He's willing to give you whatever you want. There's no reason to take advantage of a 14-year-old kid.
Right.
If there is, please send me the location. And I will be there.
Will be right there to take care of it.
I'll be there with $300 bail money. And there's no way to do how wrestling's changed since we both, me right. and you guys have started. Where we got bullied a lot and we got taught a lesson in the ring.
Yeah.
I remember wrestling. When I first started wrestling, what are we doing? Oh, you're just going to sell this whole match. No, what are we doing really? No, you're just going to sell. Okay. And they just try to take advantage of you until you quit.
Sure.
Luckily, wrestling has changed and evolved to more of a business.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to let people do that to him or any of my students.
That's good. That's good to hear, because, yeah.
I mean, when I was coming up in the business, my promoter, the guy above me, I'd walk into the show and I'd be like, okay, what am I doing this week? And if I was told I'm putting somebody over, so be it. I love the business enough where I didn't care if I was on my back or
counting lights or whatever.
Well, in my opinion, if you cannot get, as long as it's not a squash match, if you can't get yourself over in a match, heel or face, whether losing or winning, you're in the wrong business.
Right.
Yeah.
That's where you go back to saying these kids that come in and they take a bump or two and they're out. This isn't for everybody, and some people don't have the ability to sell to begin with.
Yep. Pro wrestling is for everyone. For everyone, I mean, from all ages, but being a pro wrestler is not for everyone.
Right.
Yep.
I mean, Crusher can tell you, I'd get in the ring with, what was he, 26, 27 years old?
Are you talking about Angstrom?
Yep.
Yeah.
And he'd throw stiff shots at me, and I'd just take it. We do a talk show. I walked in. Crusher looks at me and he goes, "You look like a bruised apple."
No, in those days, Hernandez, and you know how that is. You know, people would test guys. They would test them, try to get them to quit, like you said.
Yep.
You know, it was very common, unfortunately. But you know, and like you said, I think now people have just professional wrestling has evolved to a much more sophisticated situation than what it used to be, and people care about the product versus the individual. You know, you want to, like I said earlier, you know, Smalls, and you nailed it. You know, when you go in a match, the idea is, like, if me and you are going to have a match, I'm going to make you look like $1 million, and you do the same for me.
Yes.
That's the mentality. That's the mindset.
You both walk out the same way you walked in.
Yep. You got to be that way.
Well, that was the best thing you ever said, because that's what I preach to these guys every single day of training. You come in the same way, because if we start getting lax with our training, our mental focus, and I have to call an ambulance, 85 salaries is not going to bring this kid to start walking again or not have surgery.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, that what you just said was, I preach that every day in training.
Yeah, it's you know, that's what they need to hear in training, right? You know, you got to have that mindset should be first and foremost. And that's honestly, Hernandez, that's what I've picked up from all the organizations I've talked to. And it's funny, the training, even though the maneuvers might be a little different, but the basic concepts are the same. And all these indie feds that are training, they're really training the same style. And that's why when you get into a different indie fed, you can work a match because you all have the same foundation, you know? Which is, you know, it's just really cool. I'm really looking forward. Like I'm bringing. I told you guys, you know, we have Ricky Henry. He's a young kid just like you, Smalls. He started out when he had just turned 14, and he's in 3 years now into this and into their league in Ireland there, and he has got so much potential. And I love having him come on the show with me going forward now, because then when I have guests like you guys can then talk to each other from different parts of the world, and you'll talk the same language. You know, which is very cool at the same age. So.
See, part of the reason for this forward is to showcase future stars of wrestling.
Right.
And, you know, as much as we appreciate you being here, Hernandez, we want to get these kids exposure, getting them talk time, getting them networking with each other.
Yeah.
Well, as you guys know, wrestling's a young man's game. It's a young man's sport. Everyone wants to see who the next up-and-coming guy is.
Yep.
They want something fresh all the time. So, for myself, I've already been there. I've did it all. I'm trying to, you know, convey all my knowledge to him, so he don't make the same mistakes I made, and perhaps make more money. Hopefully, he makes more money and become a bigger star.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's the goal. And like I said, though, Smalls, you keep at this and you keep listening to Hernandez and the other trainers. Look, man, the sky's the limit here.
Yes.
You know, and the only person that will stop you is yourself.
Remember, we talked about that earlier. He gonna be on TV or he gonna be in jail.
Yep. Yep.
I'm being 100% honest, because he's not one of the biggest guys on the block. So. And sometimes he gets a little mouthy because he's in that teenage phase.
Right.
Yep.
He's got to remember, yes, I have a wrestling education of a maybe 30-year-old guy. I'm still stuck in a 14-year-old body.
Sure.
So he still needs to do his chores and do his homework, be in bed by a certain time, and turn his phone off or whatever you do with kids these days. That's the issue that could probably be bad for him right now.
You know, it's interesting when I was getting set and prepared for this interview and everything, and I was talking to your mom, Smalls, she said that it took her a little bit to get used to hearing them. What was the chant they always do?
Kill the kid.
Kill the kid. She didn't like that at first, but then I think she's now, you know, she understands the wrestling fan philosophy.
Oh, she chants it.
And now she chants. That's great. But yeah, you know, I can imagine as a parent. You know, but I'm just, for me, I'm glad that you guys at this age have this kind of opportunity. It's the opportunity Dave and I never had. We had to start what we did ourselves because there was no other way to do it. And
you are very blessed to be able to have trainers working with you.
Yep.
Yes.
I mean, I mean, back when we were doing it, getting our league going, Ed Sharkey would somewhat acknowledge us.
No, he didn't. Ed Sharkey didn't acknowledge us till we drew 350 fans at the Armory, and then that caught his attention.
Yeah.
But listen, so we went backwards. So my point is, you guys, we wasted 2 years to get to that, where you're able to go into it, and you're like you just said, you're in your first year, and look where you're at. So that's what my point I'm trying to make with all of this. So that goes for everybody. I've always said this. I'm not an advocate for the people that do backyard wrestling and stuff like that. I don't necessarily, and they've contacted me wanting to come on this. This show is for the people that are training, in my opinion, the way you should be training in this business now going forward, doing it through the proper indie feds that are around the country that are starting to open up schools, just like Shawn's doing there in San Antonio, where you can get to learn it right and learn it the right way and get into this the right way, because your opportunities to, the Mick Foleys and the Hardy Boys, that's a rarity. You're not going to be able to go down that path and make it in the business just because they did, right? Yeah.
I mean, Crusher Cross and I are prime examples. We weren't trained properly. We never made it big.
No, I mean, and but then again, Dave, remember the size is what was hurting us. That's what I was saying, Shawn, or Smalls. I called you Shawn. I called him me. Smalls, you might be a small guy, but that doesn't matter today. But in Dave and I's era, if you were under 200 and some pounds, it wasn't until Waltman got over with Razor Ramon that really opened the door up to accepting smaller guys.
At least here in the States.
Yeah, and I'm not talking about Lucha Libre and all that. But, at least in the United States. And so the opportunity's there. So, you're not limited just because you're not a big monster like it used to have to be, at one time. So that's always a good thing. Is there anything else that you guys wanted to cover before we end up wrapping up the show at all? Or is there anything we didn't go over? Any shows coming up that you want to talk about? Or?
Well, we're in conjunction, San Antonio Star Wrestling, with Awesome Wrestling Revolution. Awesome Wrestling Revolution runs 40 shows a year. So we run shows probably 4 times a month. We have a show this weekend, but our biggest show coming up is going to be October 4 and 5 or 5 and 6.
4 and 5.
October 4 and 5, we're bringing Jerry the King Lawler in.
Wow.
Yes, he's not wrestling, he's just making an appearance. But just the fact that Jerry the King Lawler is coming in, willing to give guys like him and others to us his wealth of knowledge.
Oh, yeah.
Last weekend, we had a Homicide. We did an LAX reunion. We have Rodney Mack from WB. He wrestles for us from time to time in our promotion. So these kids have a plethora of people's brains to pick that's been somewhere. Maybe they don't get it. Maybe they don't understand from my point of view. They can get it from Homicide's point of view. They can get it from Rodney Mack's point of view or Jerry the King Lawler's point of view. It took me 3 mentors to get on television. So I get it. Sometimes you don't click with the guy who's training you.
Yep.
So I'm not a hater. I go, bro, as long as I can get you where you need to be at, let's go.
Yep. Smalls, that just reminds me of a question I forgot to ask, and I'm going to ask you. So you're young. Where do you see yourself, Smalls, in the next 10 years?
I told you my opinion.
Yep, I know where you think, but where does he think?
10 years, I think probably TV or what he said. Either probably TV, TNA, WWE, like that, TV.
So you see yourself going all the way.
Yes.
That's long-term goals need to be unattainable today. Otherwise, they're not long-term, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So that's a good goal. You always want to reach for the stars like that. So nothing wrong with that, man. And, I was going to say, too, when you say TV, it's funny because when we started our show, it was all about cable. We started as a cable television show. So that's kind of how we started. We started on television before we started with a live crowd. But, but now, like, that's everybody's goal. Now, when you say, would you be happy with, like, and that's the other thing. When you get opportunity, remember this, Smalls. squeaky wheel gets the grease. When opportunities present themselves, you make yourself known, and you grab that attention, you take it. I'll give you an example. Ricky Henry just went over, Canary Kid, my new co-host. He went over to Canada for the first time with the match, and he was only 16. And the guy said, "I don't know if I can have you on the card. You're 16." He said, "Hey, I told you how old I was when I got, before we set it up." So he worked. He could have easily said, "Okay, I understand. Okay, I won't." But no, he spoke up for himself, and then he got on that card. And that's what I'm trying to say. Squeaky wheel gets grease, right?
Well, real quick, we have AWR Ultra Wrestling Revolution has a show this Saturday at Cigars International. It's a cigar bar. It's strict. You have to be 21 and up to be there. So you will not see Officer Smalls on our next show. It's so bad he can't even help set the ring up.
Yeah,
that strict with the policy of 21 and up. So he can be a fan. That's as good as it gets on next Saturday.
Right, and I know the guys over in Northern Ireland told me that's one of the things they struggled with when they were even at 16, 15 and stuff. Sometimes other promotions are not, used to working with somebody that young. And sometimes it's very challenging. You might run into that, Smalls. You might have guys saying, "I don't know if I want to work with this kid." You're going to get people that, because it's such a new thing right now. It's a newer thing that we're treading into here. But I think in time, that's going to go away. I think in the long run, you're going to be more and more accepted.
All right, who opened that beer?
No, it's not.
It wasn't a beer.
Yeah, I got a can of soda there. But
so
yeah.
Shawn, I got this concept more or less from our mutual friend Joe.
Yep.
How he runs his stuff up there in Michigan. So shout out to Big Joe Bird. You're the man, bro. Good, bad, or ugly. You helped create this. Because he's got a great program up there, a juniors program, and they go to an intermediate and to an adult classes. And I'm sure people laugh at me all the time. Homicide was here last weekend. Laughed when I said he was one of my best students.
Yeah.
Laughed in his face because he looks like he's 14 going on 10. He goes, he's too young. I go, man, let's watch him work. And he watched him work. He goes, all right, I understand, but I still have reservations. But Joe up there in Michigan, he's got that program going like wildfire. People were making fun of him. I mean, he maybe not have as big a name as me, but he was training guys for Great Khali in India. When we was doing all the shows out there, we would stay there for like 2 weeks. He was staying there for like 6 months and training the Indian guys from the ground up. And for him to have that patience to come back to the States and run juniors program, intermediate program, in adult classes, bro, that's patience of a god right there.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, and Joe, you're right. Joe's got and Hernandez, is that where you kind of got the idea, was seeing what Joe had going?
100%. I was going to do just kids camp because, they're not going to get hurt. Kids watch wrestling. They have all that free time on June and July because they're out of school. They do the moves to myself and to my assistant, tackles, clotheslines, drop kicks, whatever they can, coordinatedly, physically do. And then this kid stepped up and he could do it more and more and more. So his dad convinced me to let him be in the adult class.
Yep.
And trust me, he knows when he started the adult class, people started doing barely touch them and go, man, hit him like a man or you're both gone.
Yep.
Because I don't need, we're training for, imagine being 8-10 dudes sweating mad because we're wrestling out in the heat, right? In San Antonio, Texas. And all of a sudden, we got to go easy because a little kid comes in the ring. Screw that.
Right.
Teach him what the business is like when he's young.
Exactly. So he knows exactly what he's getting into.
Yep. And, Joe, it's funny you bring him up because I have he's got a wrestler. He goes by Tank. He's a big guy. And he just had, I don't know if he had his tryouts.
Tank.
Tank? Yeah, and I don't know if he had his NWA tryouts yet. He's going to have some NWA tryouts. And we got him coming on one of our future shows here. I think in October we're going to have Tank on. It'll be a one-on-one because I had Tank with a bunch of them, and so it's nice to get them when they're one-on-one like this, so I can get them some more direct questions.
Real quick, do tell Tank when you see him, I'm ready for my one-on-one match with him.
I mean, he's a big guy, but yes. Joe tells me he moves like a cat. So
yes, I went up there 2 different times and watched him wrestle. Him and his parents are beautiful people, man.
Yeah. I'm talking to his dad right now. We're just getting the dates worked out. But yeah, so we'll be seeing him in a future show. This has been fascinating to learn, what you're doing down there, Shawn, and I think it's a great thing. I can't tell you how much I think it's good that you have, like, right now it's 15 and up. So, if anybody's in the area, they have a son or a daughter saying, hey, I want to, I don't know, do you do women's training or not yet?
Yes.
You do it?
Yes. Like I was telling before, you're not male, female, you're an athlete when you come to the ring.
Yep.
This week, I told the guys this Monday, we usually train Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. If we train any other days besides that, it's like a free day, open gym, so you can work on your own things at your own discretion. So I had them all come up Monday, and Ross Foreman from TNA came and said hello and gave me some flyers for these guys to pass out, and he was very gracious with his time and brought Nick Nemeth with him, the TNA World Heavyweight Champion, to come talk to these kids for about 30, 40 minutes. Imagine if you're trained and all of a sudden your trainer who's mean like I am, you need to be here on Monday, and they never have a Monday training. They all show up on time, and here comes Nick Nemeth with the belt. Ready to answer any questions, take pictures. What a beautiful human being he is. I mean, he was so gracious with his time.
Yeah.
You don't get a lot of people like that who's made names for themselves.
Sure. I mean, that's got to be incredible. Had been an incredible experience to have that. Yeah, that's great stuff. And so what I was saying, though, is anybody in the area, San Antonio area and stuff, hit these guys up if you've got somebody that's interested and want to give it a shot. This is the great thing about this day and age now, because we're starting to move that needle a little bit earlier. Maybe someday we'll get to the young kids like they do in Europe. They start younger there, it seems, but they always are been like that. I think Europe's always started young.
They're doing like I wrestle a lot with the Knight family in Norwich, England.
Yeah,
and they do the same thing. They do a juniors program, intermediate programs, adult program, and good. Funny you said that. Their main ref, Scotty Edgar, is a really good friend of mine. He comes visits me here in San Antonio once or twice a year, and he helps me train these guys.
Yeah.
So this guy right here, 14 years old, learning from me, knows British chain.
Yeah.
From Scotty Edgar.
That's
so
crazy.
Imagine how around we had Scotty come, and we had Elise come, Ryan come. We had three young wrestlers from WAW in Norwich, England, and Scotty came and trained these guys for a week.
Yeah, they were all 3 in one videos.
Yeah, that's I mean, that's the kind of experience and training you want. So it's like, learn all the styles, learn all the different techniques,
Exactly.
And that makes you more rounded.
The more valuable you're going to be to a promoter.
Exactly.
Bingo. That was the best thing you could have said right there.
So yeah, it's been a great. And let's see, we got some. I gotta bring a couple questions in here, guys, before we get off here. Let's see. Nicholas Watler says, Hernandez, do you do interviews on other podcasts? Because I have a podcast that's built on building the foundation of the next generation of youth. So he just wanted to know if you do any other interviews.
Honestly, I would just tell you, Joe turned me on to you guys.
Yeah.
You're very gracious, having Officer Smalls with me. It's all about these guys.
Yeah.
If I cannot promote my school, or promote my students, my podcast days are over.
Sure.
I'm not being ugly. I'm not being mean. I'm not a hot shot by any of the means. If you need to know information about me, man, just Wikipedia me.
Yeah.
I'm an old man now. I'm 51. It's all about the new generation now.
Right. And that's what our Forward, that's what we're all about. We're all about it's all about Smalls. And of course your training's a part of it. And then Gizmo says, Smiles, thank you for coming on the show tonight. You helped shed light on a better side of professional wrestling. Good luck in the future. We will be pulling for you. So, and we have a very loyal fan base, you guys, and they really like seeing, because of what we did, they love seeing kids today getting involved. So, they're very passionate with that kind of thing. So, Gizmo means what he says here. But yeah, so guys, stick with us here. I'm just going to go over a couple things about what we have coming up quick on our other shows here. Let me just get to my other screen. So on our next NWF Rewind, which is next week, Dave and I, we're going back to the beginning in the Group W studios, studio taping 26. Mm-hmm. So that's what we're going to take a look at for Rewind. And then when I am on the air Sunday with Keaton over there in Ireland, Kayfabe with Keaton, we're going to have our guest Mitch Baxter. So if you guys can tune in, that would be great. And we'll learn about this guy. He's a professional wrestler, and now he's doing a lot more managing over there in Ireland. So we'll see what he's all about. And then our next Forward show, like I said before, it's going to be the debut of the Canary Kid, the very flamboyant, very outspoken, but very entertaining in the ring and very entertaining in general. I'm glad he's coming on with me now going forward on these shows. Going to add a little bit of entertainment. Plus, he's going to have that young perspective with our guests. You know, he's going to be able to ask the questions that I always sometimes forget, that Ricky knows what these guys are going through because he's doing it himself. So I'm looking forward to that. And of course, our new going forward, we're going to be live on Thursdays at 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific. That's going to be our new time. And I have to do that, you guys, because otherwise Ricky'd have to get up at 2 a.m. So I can't do that. So we got to move it up a little bit. But that's what we got coming up. Now, guys, I'd love to follow up. So if you guys ever, Smiles, I'd love to maybe chat with you again in another 6 months, see where you're at, see how things are going. We're all about, touching base again and following up. And Hernandez, any other kids up and coming that you think are good, you want them on the show, you got my contact information. You just let me know.
Much appreciated, brother. Thank you for having me. Thank you for having Officer Smalls here. Be gracious.
Thank you for everything.
Hey, it's been a pleasure. And I'm telling you something, guys, I believe 100% of what Hernandez said. I think from what I've seen, this kid is going places, guys. He's got a lot of the fundamentals and the basics down already. And in every year, he's going to keep learning more. Look, he's going, I agree 100%, Hernandez. He's going places.
Or jail.
Or jail. All right, guys. Well, thanks. It's been a great show. I hope everybody's enjoyed it. And I can't thank you guys enough for coming on. It's been really great.
Much appreciated. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for having me, too.
Thank you